I'm recording it. We're good.
Okay, go for it.
All right. It's on the cloud.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. We are going to give it a few minutes while we allow everybody to get on. We'll try to begin right at 5 o'clock. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our second grade back to school night, our virtual night. My name is Ms. Kowaleski. I am the assistant director at K5. We are very thrilled to have you all joining us this school year. I'm going to introduce our second grade teachers and then I'm going to hand it off to them. This webinar will be recorded and posted on the website. So if you miss a portion of it or you know somebody that has missed a portion of it, please check on our website in the next day or two. It should be uploaded there. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to jot those in the chat box. We will do our very best, each one of us, to try to get through those questions. If you could, when you add your question, if the option is there to ask the panelists, and then to include all of the attendees, that would be great because I'm sure some of you have the same questions. So we will do our best to answer those questions along the way. And then if time remains at the end, we'll go through and have a little Q&A question segment. So let's turn it over to those that are about to change your children's lives. And first up is Miss Jessie Thomas.
Hello.
Then we have Miss Slater.
Hi there.
Mrs. Logue.
Hi.
And Mrs. Brooke.
Hello.
They have a ton of information to share with you, so I am going to be on the chat box if you need some questions answered. I will be there to help, but I'm going to let them take it from here.
Thanks, Lynn. Well, my name is Tammy Brooke, and this is my second year teaching at STEM. I'm really excited to be here. It's my fourth year teaching second grade. Prior to being here, I worked for the Littleton School District for about 13 years. I graduated from the University of Colorado in Boulder. I have kind of a big family. I have my husband, Larry, and I have been married for 28 years now. I have 3 sons. I have one that just graduated college and thankfully has a job. I have one that is a junior this year at KU, and I have a junior in high school. I'm really looking forward to working with your kids this year. It will be a challenging year, but I'm definitely looking forward to the challenge.
Hi, I am Christine Logue, and I also am in my second year here at STEM, but I'm in my 16th year of teaching, and I'm very excited for what this year holds for all of us. It will be different. It will be one for the books, but I think it's going to be a fun ride. I graduated from the University of South Carolina with a bachelor's degree in history and art history. And then I went on to receive a Master's of Education from Baldwin-Wallace University, and my focus is in reading and early childhood education. I am a K-12 licensed reading specialist, and I also hold a director's certificate for a large child care center. I have taught all over in multiple states and with lots of different grades. I love being a part of your children's lives and some of their club activities as well, and I've spent a lot of time working with different clubs over the years. I have been married to my husband for 20 years now. We have 3 children. Our son Carter is 12 and he is starting 7th grade today. And then we have identical twin daughters named Lila and Callie. They are 7 and they are starting 2nd grade. So my life will be filled with 2nd graders this year. So I'm super excited for that. We're a pretty active family. We're involved in scouting programs. We love to camp and swim and kayak. I'm really excited for what this year holds for us.
Hi, my name is Madison Slater. I am also in my 2nd year at STEM, and I'm looking forward to working with an innovating group of students here. I graduated at Colorado State University with a bachelor's in early childhood education and family studies. I did my student teaching at an international baccalaureate school, and so I'm really familiar with how STEM the foundation is, and that's what brought me here to STEM. I'm excited to learn more about the STEM community and to be a part of it. The safety and well-being of your child is my #1 priority. I have so much heart for this profession. When I'm not at school, I enjoy being around friends and family. This year's definitely one for the books. It's going to be a challenge, but we will definitely make it a great one for these kids.
Hi, I'm Jessie Thomas. So this is my 1st year here at STEM, and I'm really excited to be joining the STEM community. It's already been super welcoming, and I'm excited to continue on this journey. I graduated from Missouri State University, which is where I'm from, with my bachelor's in early childhood education. And previously, I taught 1st grade at a school for the gifted and talented. And so this year, I'm really excited to be moving up to 2nd grade and really getting involved in the STEM community and the foundations of what STEM means. And so I moved out here to Colorado to be with my husband as he got a job out here. We have been married for 1 year now. And so in my spare time, we like to go camping or kayaking. And I like to do some just other projects around my house like crocheting or sewing. And I'm excited to be here this year.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the academics that your child's going to have this year. So we have a whole unit for science and engineering. We're going to have to really be creative this year with our science and engineering unit, since we've got some kids that'll be at home learning while others are here, but we'll figure that out. We will cover plants and insects. We'll be bringing in some insects into the classroom. We will do some mealworms, some milkweed bugs, some butterflies, and we'll get to study them and their intercodependence on plants, where we'll also be growing some Wisconsin fast seed plants. Wisconsin, I don't know, they grow fast. Anyway, we'll be doing some of that in the class. We also will have a unit on properties of matter with solids, liquids, and gases, and be studying them and their how they go together, how they relate together, you know, how the gases can change. So we'll be looking at some of that, doing a little bit of experiments with that as well. We also will be studying a little bit about the process that shapes our earth and erosion and water and the rain and the heat and how that affects our earth. In our science and engineering unit, we kind of commingle those in with the academics for the science in, especially with like our units on insects and plants. We'll be building hand pollinators in the classroom. We also use little robotics with Lego We Do, and we'll be building some things with that. We have a unit where we will be improving Play-Doh. We'll get to figure out a process to make Play-Doh better than what it is. And finally, we will do a process of building walls and how we can, what sort of substances we can use to make walls hold together. And I think that's it for science and engineering.
In social studies this year, we will be covering the topics of history, geography, economics, and civics. Some of our favorite activities that we do are to be writing about a famous person in history. And then we participate in an interactive history museum. We may be reevaluating how that looks a little bit in the spring, and it might be a little bit more virtual, but the kids really enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun for them to dress up and present what they've learned through the biography of the person that they were researching. We are going to take a look at how people in the past have influenced our history and neighborhoods and our communities here locally and in the larger picture. In geography, we'll still continue to look at our community here. We'll be working on mapping skills, starting with just mapping our classroom and then mapping our neighborhoods and then mapping our areas around. So we do a lot with maps this year. In our economics unit, we're going to be having them work with making financial decisions and the effects that their choices make on themselves and their communities and the scarcity of resources and how we can work with and improve them as well, or make different choices in our resources. And then in civics, this is really nice. It goes hand in hand with our formula for character. We are learning how to be responsible community members and advocate for our ideas and to use multiple ways to resolve conflicts and differences in our classroom.
So for the academics with reading and writing, second grade is a great year for students to really grow in their reading and writing skills. And so kind of the highlight for our oral expression is we're really going to be working on like presenting and expressing our ideas to other students and community members. When it comes to our reading for all purposes, we're really working on becoming fluent readers so that we can read all text for understanding, and that we can really make sure that we're reading a wide range of books to help us grow. And then for writing, we're really just working on expressing our ideas through writing and through multiple ways of doing that. As Ms. Logue mentioned, we write a biography, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on our next slide. And then we're also want to make sure that we're researching for all purposes. We're asking questions and being inquisitive and researching those to help us grow. And then this is a continuation of the last slide. So in reading, we do a reader's workshop, and we'll work through reading fiction books and nonfiction books, as well as get into some book series. And then our big writing units are narratives and small moments, opinion or persuasive writing. And then the biography is the real big one that we do a big project with that students normally really love. And that's where we will write a biography about a famous person in history. And those biographies will get published into a book, hopefully as well this year, that you guys will be able to purchase as a keepsake for you and your family. And some students might remember participating in the virtual museum that second grade did last year. So hopefully they're really excited to get to do it themselves. And then our last unit would be informative or like how-to and procedural.
Our math second grade standards will cover number sense, properties, operations, patterns, functions, and algebra structures. And we'll do a lot of talk about graphing, number sense, and the foundation of algebra. Also with the operation of addition and subtraction. Since math will be different this year, we will not be rotating. We'll be in our own classes for math, and we'll be differentiating in our classes. So we'll give your kids what they need in our classes. If they need to learn third grade content, then that's what they'll be learning too as well. We want to make sure everyone is challenged and succeeds here at STEM.
So we just wanted to also let you know that safety is very important to us in our classroom this year. And we do have our mask mandates, and the students have been doing a great job with that in person. We've been really proud of them. We've shared some hand washing videos as well, so that we can all properly hand wash and sanitize throughout the day. We are all in our own classrooms this evening, socially distanced from each other and alone, which is why we are not wearing our mask, but we also follow that mask rule to a T, and we don't take it off except to eat and drink. So I just want to make sure that you understood that we are all doing a great job with our masks this year.
A testing protocol is next. It's going to be really important this year with testing, because we will be doing some testing online. that we ask that you please do not assist your child with assessments. It's okay if during a regular assignment they're not understanding, they're needing help, they're asking you for help, but we please ask that during assessments you do not assist your child. We really need that data for instruction, because without accurate data we won't know what your child's understanding, maybe what needs repeated, are they ready to move on. So we please ask that you do not help your child. So it includes spelling tests, any math assessments, iReady assessments that will be done at home. We really want to help your child grow this year in second grade, and the best way to do that is to get accurate data. So we appreciate ahead of time and you not assisting your children with assessments. Field trips. Unfortunately, we cannot offer field trips at this time. We have done a lot of fun field trips in the past, and who knows, maybe we will be able to offer field trips again, but at this point, all field trips are on hold.
So for homework, we are asking that students read for at least 20 minutes each night. This could be a book that you have borrowed from school, a book you have at home. Raz Kids, Epic, and Read Theory are all great resources that we have available that students have logins for. And so with that reading, we just ask that they record the title of the book and the amount of minutes read, because we're really working on building that stamina for students in reading and building that fluency. And then the other piece of homework is a weekly piece of homework, and that is their WOW notebook, and WOW stands for Work on Writing. So each week they'll get a weekly writing prompt, and they just have to respond to that writing prompt at some point during the week. And so what night you guys choose to incorporate your WOW writing in to your routine is really up to you. And in normal school year, we would have some additional homework for math, science, and some of our community and social emotional. But because of the unique situation of this year, we've decided to move a lot of what would be homework into our Friday class time to really respect everyone's time, because we know everyone's going to be spending more time doing work on the computer and in front of the computer, and really it's going to look a lot different this year. So normally we would have math homework, but this year we have decided to move it to really respect everyone's time and help make sure that we can meet the needs of students.
Student of the Week and Scientist of the Week. So each week we will have one student per class be the Student and Scientist of the Week, which means they'll demonstrate a poster about themselves or a video or a Google slide. We're going to be innovative this year on how we're going to showcase our talents. Each student will demonstrate a simple science experiment throughout this year. Instead of having a weekly Scientist of the Week binder, we are thinking maybe of doing a showcase where we can keep all of our kids' experiments online so everyone can see it. Usually we bring home a binder that looks like this, where kids can show their parents what their classmates have done so they can get ideas for their next experiment. They can decide if they're hybrid, if they want to perform their experiment in class, or if they're online to perform it at home. We are still going to send out details more about that later. We are also to complete a lab report. This lab report includes instructions, what happens in the report, and the materials. Students are encouraged to choose an experiment that has not been done already by their classmates.
Behavior this year, we've added a few new things. Many teachers use Class Dojo, and it's where students can earn points for showing integrity, honesty, respect, responsibility, and empathy, which are our STEM formula for character. And if your teacher is using that, you'll know they'll send you the link for that. We also use individual classroom reward systems. In each classroom, it might look a little bit different. We have our OOPS reflections, which is if something were to happen in the classroom or with another student, they can kind of have some time to sit and reflect on what the event was, what happened, and how we can resolve that either within the classroom, within themselves, or with another person. And they can write that reflection and use our formula for character to kind of build those skills that we're working with. We're also incorporating a restorative justice model this year. Restorative justice focuses on repairing harm done to our relationships. It requires students to take responsibility for their actions and the harm that they have caused. It is a more sustainable, equitable, and respectful approach to behavior challenges, and it can help to create a culture of connectivity and care among students through the mediation and community building process. So we really want them to work on those relationships with each other, to build them, to grow them, and to repair them when challenges happen. Our classroom logistics, we love to celebrate birthdays. Feel free to bring in, a store-bought snack or treat. We cannot have any volunteers in the classroom this year, so they will need to be brought in by the student and not the parent. We do have some allergies, so please check with your teachers for any allergies that may be in your classroom before you bring in any treats. At lunch, if your child will have a hot lunch, please help them to memorize their lunch number. Their lunch number is also their student ID number, which we are also using as their passwords this year, so they'll get used to using that a lot. This year, our water fountains are not turned on, but our bottle fillers are. So please make sure to send your child every day with a water bottle, and it's labeled with their name so that they can refill it throughout the day. We typically in the past love to have lots of volunteers, but at this time we cannot have any volunteers or guests in the building. If that should change, we will let you know. We love to communicate out as a team, and we frequently email. We do newsletters, calendars, all of that's posted in our Google Classrooms as well as in emails or in Class Dojo or in Seesaw if your classroom is using that. Also, oh, I just forgot what I was going to say.
Can I jump in there? Yeah. You can still volunteer for Driveline. And another way you can tally up those volunteer marks is if your teacher has some work to be completed at home, if there are things that maybe they can come up with that you could cut or create at home for the students to use. And the third way you can also add that to that volunteer tally is by classroom donations. So if there are items on the wish list, you can send them by way of Kathy Reed in the middle school office. And there is some sort of equation for a dollar amount or donation amount that also goes to figure your volunteer hours. So there's a couple different ways for you to earn volunteer hours this year, other than in the classroom.
In addition, all four of us have sent out a lot of emails already. If you have not received an email from us, please check your spam or junk mailbox. I've heard from parents in the past that they have not received emails and then they go look in their spam and they're all right there. So please look there and I'll list all of us as a contact so that our emails will get through to your inbox as well.
So this year, because of the hybrid learning and the e-learning, it's really important that a study space is established for your student to do homework in their online learning, especially because a lot of materials will be going back and forth to school if they're a hybrid learner. And so we're asking that students find a quiet spot, that's one spot to sit to do their work, especially for when we're doing Zoom calls with students. We don't want students walking around with laptops or being in a really noisy area where they could be easily distracted or distracting other students. So we're asking that you kind of evaluate your personal situation and see if you can find a good fit spot for your student to work. And so we kind of just also have a suggested checklist, especially for our hybrid learners, for when they are going back and forth to make sure they're bringing any writing they're working on, masks or shields, and especially pack an extra one because sometimes those earbands can snap or break. And then their WOW journal and homework folder, and as well as that water bottle that we mentioned before, to kind of make sure you get all of those things packed and brought to and from school every day to help make sure your student is successful no matter where they are learning.
Online expectations. So this year we'll be using Zoom a lot. This is how we'll be giving our lessons and how we'll do morning meetings and contacting your students. Since our students that start online, we want to build those relationships too. So we'll put dependent on Zoom a lot, I'm sorry. So make sure students are on time. Just like you are on time at school, you're gonna be on time in Zoom. You're gonna act like you're in school. So you're gonna find, like Jesse said, find a study spot and stay there. So sit in one spot during class. You're gonna keep yourself muted until you're called upon by your teacher or until it's social time and you're able to talk to your friends. You're gonna turn on your video. We wanna see your pretty faces. We wanna see all of your wonderful faces. You're gonna raise your hand to talk. You're gonna be great listeners, and make sure you're not eating during class. You don't eat in the classroom when I'm teaching, so you're not gonna eat in the class when your teachers are teaching. So you could save that for snack and lunch. And most importantly, just have fun and do your best. Our teachers have already sent out our Zoom links for what is to come. We have a morning meeting, literacy and math check-ins. So those may switch as time comes when we have guided reading groups as well. So be out and look out for that.
All right, what a day could look like for Monday through Thursday. An in-person day between 7:30 and 8:20, we would begin with our morning meeting. Students will be logging in to their Zoom sessions. We'll be taking attendance, unpacking, beginning morning work, and doing some community building with our virtual and in-person students. From 8:20 to 9:30, we'll be doing our math rotations. In the classroom, we'll be doing direct instruction, independent work time, and small group support. At home, students will begin in the Google Classroom, where they will have their lessons recorded, and then you will log into your teacher's Zoom meetings for your math check-ins. Where we can assess how you're doing. If you have any questions, we might have a little mini lesson to share with you as well. And then you'll log off and finish your math work for that time. Similar to math is reading from 9:45 to 10:45. The in-person, we usually begin with a mini lesson. Then we will have our guided reading small groups and literacy stations. The e-learning day will also be working on your mini lessons, which will be in the Google Classroom. You will also log on for your Zoom sessions, which may be a check-in or it may be your guided reading time. And that's a time where we can work with the students and assess, as well as provide them an opportunity to ask any questions, and then they'll log off and finish their work for reading. And then writing follows reading from 10:45 to 11:30. It's very similar to the reading block. We begin with a mini lesson. They have independent work times, and then we'll meet with students for individual writing conferences or small group conferencing. And that will also, the students online will have a video and prompts to work through their writing processes as well. And we may have some time during our Zoom for our reading block to also kind of check in on the writing as well. We will have time on Friday to check in with students too. Our luncheon specials are from 11:40 all the way through 1:08. Lunch ends at 12:25, and then specials start at 12:28. The specials teachers will be in person in our classrooms. The students will not be rotating to the specials rooms this year. The teachers will come to our room. And they have also created Google Classrooms that we've sent out information on how to help them log in. And if you're struggling with that at home, we can work on our end as well to help them get into those classrooms to make sure they're not missing. Each second grade class has a different special on a 2-week rotation. So for example, my class will start with art next week, and they'll have art for 2 weeks. Our afternoon after specials is going to be our science, social studies, and engineering block. In person, we will be doing our lessons with our teachers, our scientists of the week, our experiments, and then our remote learners will be doing all of that same work. as well. And we will check in with them twice a week. In the afternoon, you'll have a Zoom session to log in where we can also do some mini lessons with you besides what you're doing in your remote Google Classrooms. And we can present Scientist of the Week as well if you're at home. So that will be fun that we can still connect in the afternoons throughout the day.
So Friday for e-learning is going to look obviously a little bit differently. We will still do a morning check-in at 8 o'clock. So a little morning meeting with all students. It will be everybody because it is still a time for us to take attendance. We have morning meetings. I think all 4 teachers have already scheduled 8 o'clock Zoom meetings for all students. So it's important that every day of the week that those students are logging in at 8 o'clock if you are hybrid or an e-learner, because that is when we will be taking our morning attendance. And then we'll be taking an afternoon attendance a little bit later in the day during one of our following Zoom sessions. On Friday, same thing. We'll have an 8 o'clock time that you will log in. All students will log in. It'll just be a short morning meeting. And then we're going to start off doing some testing, some individual testing. So you can look for emails to come that will indicate whether or not your student is being tested and what time they need to. Sorry, my lights just shut off on me in my room. I have to get up and move. There we go. So students will be sending out emails to parents individually if your student needs to log in at a different time for testing, or if they'll stay on at that 8 o'clock time. As we wrap up with testing, it will be a time after that 8 o'clock meeting that we will be available to meet with students to do some writing help, or whatever students need help with. We will be available for 2 hours on Fridays, and we will communicate, each teacher will communicate their information out for students on that. And then the rest of the day for students will be a chance for you to work on activities. Maybe it's things that you didn't finish up during the week. Like we said, the WOW journals, you'll have a writing prompt that you'll do for WOW journals. And we expect you to still read on Fridays as well.
In the afternoon, Tammy, or Miss Brooke in second grade, online students will have a check-in time with whatever specials teacher they were with throughout that week. So if they were, we do, I don't know, do you have a specials information in here?
No.
Okay, so second grade attends specials in 2-week rotations. So 2 weeks for Chinese, 2 weeks for art, 2 weeks for music, and 2 weeks for PE. So if they are in their art rotation and they are an online student, in the afternoon, they will be attending a live art class. And you'll receive more information about that. If you did not have a chance to check out the specials webinar that they hosted on Wednesday night, that will also be posted on the STEM website for you to get more information about the specials program at the STEM elementary school.
And finally, we want to be sure that you're all aware of our STEM Center for Strength. You can get more information on this at the website listed above, but it's a way for families, if they still need for connection, for healing. We have this available for all families. So if you want more information, please visit stemcenterforstrength.org.
And thank you to those who have answered our Google forms that we've emailed about your child and family. It helps us get a better understanding about our students. If you haven't, can you check your email and fill out the Google forms? And thank you so much. We are now going to open it up to the Q&A. Alexi raised his hand.
They're unable to speak. You're not going to be able to hear comments. If they have questions, they need to answer them in the Q&A section.
Okay.
You can read the question to all participants, and then somebody can answer them.
I'll start. I see one. It asked if we're supplying WOW journals and how do we get our students' ID number. So WOW journals are part of the school supplies that went home. And if your teacher has not helped set those up and communicate about that, that will be coming soon in one of the Zoom sessions. And so just look for that. And then your student's ID number, you can see on Infinite Campus. It will say their ID number.
We have a question here about different teachers for social studies, science, math, and language arts. No, this year we will not be switching around for any subjects. That's why we have built cohorts, because we don't want students switching around amongst the classrooms. So the students will stay in class and will have their homeroom teacher for all subjects this year.
And we will still differentiate in each subject.
There's a question, are we still going to use Zern in second grade? Yes, we are going to use Zern in second grade. And all of the teachers, we've already set that up with the students on their accounts, even for students that are e-learners. I think we've all gone in and already bookmarked and set up accounts for students within their STEM accounts. So you should already be set up with Zern.
There's a question, managing assignments independently at home. All of us have Google Classrooms set up right now, and all of our assignments will be posted in there. We ask that assignments be turned in through that Google Classroom so that it is organized and we have everything all in one place, and we can see, you know, if they need more support, if an assignment's been turned in, we can comment and return the assignment to a student and kind of have that back and forth through that Google Classroom.
We have a question for e-learners. Do teachers prefer the students reach out if they need help or parents reach out? Whatever you feel comfortable with. We are working on students advocating for themselves, so we prefer the students reach out when they need help, and also to build more connections with the student-teacher relationship.
There's a question here if there will be Zoom sessions for science, social studies, and engineering. So there will be 2 per week. And so there just won't be one every day. There'll be 2 per week.
There's a question here for virtual learning. Will the students have all of the second grade teachers, or will it be videos only from their teacher? We're collaborating as a team, so you may see videos from me come through in science, social studies, maybe a few math lessons as well as from the rest of the team. So as a team here in person, we collaborate together, and the students get to know all of the second grade teachers, and we want to be able to keep that same idea happening with our virtual learners. So you may see other teachers teaching some lessons in your remote learning classrooms.
So you'll get to see all of our faces.
There's a question here for virtual days. Will we be receiving a weekly schedule of what is expected each day? And so I think all of us have set it up in our Google Classrooms to where they will, the student will log on to their Google Classroom and there'll be an assignment for that day. I know personally, like I'm labeling mine with the date, but I can't speak for all of the second grade teachers. But so it should all just be on your Google Classroom for each subject.
Also, the assignments will show up each morning. So Monday's assignments will be available on Monday, Tuesdays will show up on Tuesday, and so forth. So that it's just like at school in person, it's new information each day.
Lynn Ann, here's a question from you. Maybe you can answer. Someone wants to know what the penalty is for not completing the required volunteer hours.
I don't know if I'm muted, hold on. I'm muted.
No, you're not. Good.
So I don't know if there's a penalty per se. I know that was a commitment that we asked parents to make, that they are volunteering throughout the year. That's part of our STEM commitment to school and community. I put in that response to please reach out to Kathy.Reed@stemk12.org. She oversees that. But also there are other opportunities for volunteering besides being in the class. So I had mentioned that quickly earlier, was you could volunteer for Driveline in the morning or afternoon. Donations count towards volunteer hours. And then I know there are times where teachers need help cutting things out or creating things for the students to use in class. So please reach out to them for those volunteer hours. And if you still feel as if you're unable to make that commitment, please reach out to kathy.reed@stemk12.org.
So there's a question here that says, my kid is hybrid, going Monday and Tuesday. Will they see their teacher the other 3 days? So the answer is yes. When your student is not present in the classroom, they're considered an e-learner. And so they would be expected to log into the Zoom sessions, just like if they were an online only student, so that we should see every student every day.
There's a question that says, do you expect second graders to independently search the Google Classroom? We chose the Google Classroom because it's a bit more of a user-friendly platform for younger students than our Canvas platform is, that our 3rd and above grade levels are using at this time. It's children, the students have been using it in their 1st grade classrooms previously as well. We also like how their docs and everything can be connected right into that classroom. They are so tech savvy. They amaze me every day what they know and what they can teach me as well. So once they get in there and start kind of moving around in it, they're going to pick it up very quickly. You're welcome to help them as well, but I think it's such a user-friendly platform for kids this age that they'll pick it up very quickly.
I can say, or to add to that, is that your children's teachers at the beginning of the year, when they are in person, spend a great deal of time working on expectations and routines and teaching them how to navigate, whether it's Google Classroom or it's walking out to the restroom on their own and washing their hands before they come back, or putting in their number in the keypad for lunch. So they spend so much of the first month just teaching routines and expectations. And one way you can help your child and your child's teacher is to also teach those expectations. And I think that was mentioned on the slide, that they are working in a consistent work area, that there are little to no distractions during work time, maybe posting their schedule or the day's expectations, printing it out and having it for them to look over. So all of those things that you do in the beginning is going to help them for the duration of 2nd grade. So please know that teachers would be doing the same thing if they were there in class, and please help us with that at home.
We have a question, how will kids learn from participating in robotics? That is a question I'm going to direct to Sarah Phillips. She's our enrichment director who handles after school activities. So I will ask about if they're going to be doing online clubs this year.
I think the question was more about how will students be able to use the robotics, I think, like the Legos robotics that Ms. Brooks mentioned earlier. So we do not have lender kits for those robotics. So that would be one thing that we would be working on, maybe some sort of collaboration where maybe the student in the class is building while the other student is having a discussion about it. But at this point, we do not have lender kits for robotics. I don't know if any of the teachers have anything to add to that, but that's one of those things that are in class, most likely.
Some of our engineering kits, we have been discussing the possibility of sending home some, like our pollination unit. It uses a lot of just items that you would find in a craft store. So we're sort of discussing how we might get those into your hands as well. And so we're kind of working out the logistics in some of our engineering units that are not robotics based.
There's another question here about how time will be distributed for each subject in between e-learners and in-person learners during class. And so a bulk of our time is going to be spent with our in-person students, and our check-ins during the subject time are just short 10 to 15-minute check-ins to make sure students are on the right track and don't have any questions so that they can be successful. And then our Friday time is when we can spend more time helping students individually if they're really struggling somewhere, to really dive into our e-learner students' needs to help them some more.
Where can you find the donation list for 2nd grade? We're still working on getting the website set up, but we have it underneath our About Me page, our wish list for 2nd grade. We also have a question, are your Zoom meeting links on Google Classroom? I can't speak for the team, but I know we did last year is we attached our Zoom link. Yep, we attached our Zoom links on Google, so it's easy to navigate. So yes, they will still be on Google Classroom.
I was going to tag two of them. So I know a parent had asked about receiving a class list or some sort of connection with the students in your classroom. Because of FERPA regulations, we are not allowed to share who's in what classroom and what cohort. A couple ways you can connect with other families is through the membership toolbox through our PTO. So if you sign up and you are willing to share your contact information, you'll be able to then see others in the community that have also signed up for the membership toolbox. And then if you go to the Highlands Ranch STEM Facebook page, there are Facebook groups that are formed through that is for the second graders for the, this year, or the third grade group for this year. So that is definitely one way that a lot of parents are finding support is through the Facebook group or membership toolbox.
I have a question here about how do live lessons work for online days, and is the teacher teaching to in-person and virtual students at the same time? There will be some times where we're doing that so we can have some collaboration with students that are already in the classroom and the students that are virtual or hybrid. We want to try to build that community. So we will try to have some live lessons. Not all of our lessons will be live. Most of them, in fact, will be pre-recorded if you're a hybrid student that day, or if you're an e-learner at all times, most will be pre-recorded, but we will have some collaboration together. We're using, we do have some cameras available at the school that have been provided for us, as well as we will be using Zoom to do that in the classroom also.
My daughter is in hybrid B, so on her virtual days, does she do her assignments based on the Google Classroom, or do they log into each class to join the in-person class? So we broke it up where whatever we're doing in class, you will be doing online as well. So if we are teaching a lesson about narrative writing, there will be a lesson on Google Classroom about narrative writing. So we're going to try to be as in sync as possible with every single cohort. So cohort A, B, and online, we're going to make sure we teach all of them together.
And to kind of add to that, they also do still need to log into those Zooms as well, though, to get those like check-in moments.
Attendance will be taken in the morning for the morning meeting times, as well as those Zoom check-in times. So it's very important that students do attend the subject check-in times for attendance purposes, please. There was also a question about hybrid learners eating lunch in the cafeteria or in their classroom. Students will be eating in the classroom. Currently, right now, with the number of students, there is really no more than 40 students in any one grade level cohort. So that will allow students to sit 4 to a table, where it's usually about 8 to 10 to a table. So they will be socially distanced at each table, which would allow us to have under 40 kids in the cafeteria. If at any point students decide that they want to return to hybrid learning, which is always an option, and our numbers start to go higher than that and we're unable to socially distance in the cafeteria, then students would then have the opportunity to eat outside. And then if weather becomes an issue and our numbers are high, then there might be a need for the students to eat in class. But currently, all grade levels have numbers that will allow us to safely eat in the cafeteria.
A question here on, are we expected to sit with our students to assist them with the virtual assignments? So we're hoping that we have made all assignments at student level so that they can access the information themselves and do the assignments themselves. Does that mean they're not going to have questions? No, they're probably going to have questions. So, you know, we ask that you're there to assist them with questions that they might have, but we are hoping that we have made all of our lessons accessible to the children to be able to complete on their own.
And if they have a question, they can use the check-in times to ask their teacher, or they can advocate for themselves and send an email to their teacher.
There's a question about feeling as if the time spent for the online students or the hybrid students when they are not in classes versus virtual being skewed. Right now, with all that's on our teachers' plate to create these videos and to meet with your students for math and reading definitely twice a week, although it's 15 minutes, That is about what students are provided, maybe 15, 20 minutes. A typical lesson would be about 10 to 15 minutes of direct instruction. Then students work independently and the teacher provides extra support where needed or extends the learning for others that need that also. So what is happening when they're at home, they're getting that direct instruction, they're practicing, and then the teachers are checking in just as if they were in class. So the model is very much similar. And I think at some point, as teachers become more familiar and more fluent and comfortable with all the online platforms, there is a chance of more of a synchronized learning environment for our students. But for teachers to be prepared in August, despite having 2 weeks, to monitor what's happening online and monitor the activities of the students at school was a lot. So I think that we will eventually be moving that way if education stays this way with the hybrid learning and online learning. But right now, I do believe that the learning is very similar. And you can always bring your student back at any time for hybrid learning. They do not have to stay online. A lot of districts are asking for a commitment of a semester if you choose online learning. STEM does allow that flexibility for students to return to the classroom, as well as if you know that they're doing a unit in science that is more hands-on or the robotics lessons, you may sign your student up, just allow 24 hours notice, let the office know that your student is coming in for a class. And they're welcome to join the class in person. So know that STEM does have that flexibility that some other schools do not.
Linnea, do you think you can answer the school supply list question?
Can I get a school supply list? Yes, there is a school supply list on the website. It was sent out in the parent newsletter, I believe about 3 weeks ago, if you still have the access to those newsletters. The school supply list, what teachers were asking for beyond what was supplied on the supply kits was very minimal. I think that if you could reach out to your teacher, also, if you can't find that list on the website or the past newsletter, but the supply kits were provided by some of the money that your fees, to ensure that every student had a kit in school. If you're a hybrid student, they have a kit in school that is just theirs. We're not sharing scissors, glue sticks, glue, pencils. Everybody has their own materials in school. And then we also felt as if we felt it was necessary for students to have access to the same materials at home. So those supplies have been prepared and shared with students that are hybrid and at home. And then there was very few things. I don't know if you guys can speak to any of that, but there are very few things beyond that. Headsets. What else did you request as a second grade team?
A little bottle of hand sanitizer, I think, like a personal hand sanitizer.
Water
Maybe.
bottles.
Water bottles.
Paper towels. Not a lot.
We have a question that says, does the 8 a.m. Zoom meeting help kids to meet other classmates to know who they have in their class? Yes. Our goal is to create community among our 3 groups of students, our virtual learners and our hybrid A and B groups. And that 8 a.m. meeting, I plan to have my Zoom meeting projected on the board so my kids in person can see the kids that are remote learners that day, whether they're virtual, complete remote learners or in one of the hybrids working from home, so that we can interact and have some community building activities together and feel as though we are in a class together.
Can one of you answer the question about will they know when you're doing robotics, or will they know when some of those more hands-on science learning opportunities are that I know your second graders absolutely love? How will they know that that is coming so they can make that call as far as attending in person or not?
We communicate frequently with our families and give you what is coming up in our units. And so it will come through the Google Classroom, through your means of communication with your teacher, whether it's Seesaw, Dojo, or email as well. We'll make sure that that's all coming in advance.
So there's a question about how long you need to know for the switch from hybrid to virtual. So I don't think we touched on this. So if you are a hybrid student and your child is feeling under the weather, they may choose to access the academics from home. And they still will be counted as present. They have to do the check-ins, but they still are present. So you can access that without prior notice. So if a child is not feeling well, they get up and you're unsure, should I send them in or not? I don't want a chance at getting anyone sick. If they get online to those sessions, that's perfectly acceptable. If you want to come in for an activity, or you're just deciding I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable and I'm hearing that kids are really working hard and teachers are working hard to keep everyone safe and I want to give it a try, we just ask that you let us know the day before, so that way teachers are set up with the supplies and the things they need for a student coming to class. If you do that, we do ask that you come after driveline, because you'll have to sign them in and out manually, so we know that you're on or your child's on campus that day. And then you have the flexibility always to go from online to hybrid online. We just ask for maybe a 24-hour notice for that transition, if it's going to be long term. If it's just for like the week because they're doing something amazing and the kid is dying to go to school, it's just a 24-hour notice. If it's a full-time switch, we just ask that you let the office know ahead of time.
We have a question about the class dojos and the seesaw. It depends on which one your teacher is using. It usually is a separate connection. Your child will connect and then you can connect to their account. I've been working with my families to get them connected. And so your teachers will reach out to you on how to connect to what they're using in their classrooms.
I think you all answered just about every single question that came your way. And I know that it's 5:55 on Friday on a very long first orientation week. So if you have any other questions from any one of the teachers, or if you need any help from the admin, please reach out to us. We know that this year is definitely going to be one where we need to communicate often and have that flexibility, both on our part and your part, to ensure your student is successful. So we thank you all for joining us this evening. If you missed any portion, it will be on the website, and we're here anytime. Please send us an email, reach out to us, and we will be there to support you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.